There, YouTube, Handicapper General here. Just here to talk to you about one specific game that's been on our table a little bit more than it had been in the past, and that's Settlers of Catan. Those of you who know it know it's been around forever. It's got to be pushing almost 30 years now. I think it's 28 years old. It's one of the first games that really started the Euro game movement back here in the States. It's been a lot of fun for a lot of different reasons, a lot of different groups. When you're teaching it to your kids, one of the things, just like any game that you want to do, is you want to make sure it's moving along. You want to make sure that it's not overly competitive or cutthroat, at least around my table with my girls we do. And you also want to make sure that you don't introduce something that can wreck a plan that would normally be a good plan, but every now and then just the specific approach gets wrecked. One of the things that we do, we've got one specific rule change that we make, and it actually accomplishes all three of those. So it helps the game move along a little bit faster by providing more resources. So instead of only getting 2 games in a day, we might be able to get 3 at a sitting. It also does something so that if there's a specific plan, for example, if somebody's trying to get a lot of wood, or if they're trying to get a lot of ore, there's a way that you can shut that down in the traditional game, and in our tweak, makes it harder for that to happen by the actions of another player. And those two things together also make it less of a cutthroat game. There's a way in the game, if you don't know the rules, to hinder an opponent directly, and or multiple opponents directly at the same time, and that can adjust gameplay, and it can force you to move on the fly. Now, those of you who are experienced in gaming, that's a big piece of games, is you have to react to your opponent's strategies, you have to react to what your opponent is doing, and make them adjust their strategies in a way that will benefit you. It's harder to do that with kids because they frequently can only maintain one strategy at a time. So if you're doing a change that requires them to change their strategy, you're asking them to stretch further than you would be doing if you're asking an adult to do the same. Especially if you've played Settlers of Catan, as I have, for over 20 years, you understand, oh, somebody's trying to do this, I need to adjust to do this. If you can take that external combativeness out of the game, it makes for a smoother gaming experience, and your opponents, your children, can learn these abilities one at a time. So they can learn, oh, there's this strategy, there's this city building strategy, oh, there's this expansion, build a lot of settlement strategy, or oh, I want to start building settlements first and then cities, or cities first and then I'm going to go over here and build settlements. Whereas if you do the traditional game, it is possible to get in the way of somebody's long-term strategy. The other thing it does, like I said, is it increases the speed of gameplay. I find that until somebody is about 8 or 9 years old, they're going to have trouble sitting down at a game for more than half an hour straight. I know a lot of 40-somethings who have the same problem. This speeds up the gameplay. So if you realize you're behind, you're only going to be behind for 10 or 15 more minutes and the game is going to be over. And guess what? Boom, fresh game on the board. You can try again, whether you try that strategy or a different strategy. Anyway, I'm going to have a longer video where I talk about gameplay, I talk about this rule change, I talk about how it impacts some of the other rules, because it does, and it's something to be aware of, and it's something to share with the table. If you're going to change a rule and it changes how the game is played, obviously that's something you need to talk through. It also is something that if you start playing it this way all the time, you have to remember, if this truly becomes a house rule and not a one-off, whenever other people sit down, you should talk about it. It is really, really uncomfortable when you go to somebody else's house and you start playing a game and they say, oh, well, this is just how we play it. Well, you didn't say that up front, and the rules don't say that. What are you going to do about that? Anyway, want to talk a little bit about those things next time. This is just supposed to be a quick one-off, and in fact, it's mostly a sound test for my new microphone. Anyway, this is the Handicapper General, signing off.